Following the high-profile failure of the Fyra project, it seemed like the Dutch railways would never operate a high-speed link between Belgium and the Netherlands again. Until now, that is. Introducing the brand new EuroCity Direct, which provides a fast and frequent link between the Belgian capital Brussels and the Dutch capital Amsterdam, and is set to revolutionise travel between the two major European cities. And I'll be bringing you along with me as we check out this brand new international service in full. So join me as the journey continues. As with the majority of Belgian international trains, the new EuroCity Direct starts at Brussels South, which despite its name is a major hub for rail travel in and out of the city, and contains frequent and efficient links to its extensive bus, tram and metro networks. Known as Bruxelles Midi and Brussels Zuid in French and Dutch respectively, two of Belgium's official languages, the entrance I've used looks like it's seen better days, but it's a lot nicer inside as you can see. It's also worth visiting the shops and restaurants here, as there's no catering on board the EuroCity Direct, and there's certainly no jewellery to buy as a present for your partner either. The origins of Brussels South date back to 1869, when it was first used as a domestic terminus station, but has gradually evolved into the international through station we all know and somewhat love today. Perhaps the most revolutionary change is the Eurostar terminal for high-speed services under the sea to and from London, which is my favourite way to get to the mainland from the UK. This is located just next to the Eurostar information desk for their continental services, which I'll come back to momentarily, as well as the SNCB ticket and information point for other international services and domestic ones, which combined results in around 62,000 passengers using this station daily. Speaking of which, we can see our service displayed on the departure board as the 12:22 service to Lelystad Centrum on platform 6. You may also notice something different about this service, but I'll get back to that in a second. For now, let's head up and wait for our train's arrival. This new service now typically departs from the same main area as the other high-speed international trains serving Brussels South. An ICE3 Neo can be seen on platform 7 awaiting departure to Aachen, and incoming now is a Eurostar, formerly Thalys PBKA set on an Amsterdam to Paris working. The new EuroCity Direct will be directly competing, no pun intended, with Eurostar on the Amsterdam to Brussels corridor using the HSL Zuid, the former taking around 10 minutes longer than the latter to complete the journey end to end. The EuroCity Direct is the faster replacement service for the former NS Intercity Direct between Amsterdam and Brussels, which was formed of two Bombardier Trax locomotives hauling a set of ICR coaches from the 1980s, and would take close to 3 hours to complete end to end. The old Intercity Direct has since been cut back to Rotterdam, with a pair of SNCB Trax locomotives now hauling a rig of Belgian I-11 coaches, which are now branded EuroCity. Not only is this new service extended beyond Amsterdam to Almere and Lelystad, it's also being diverted to serve Amsterdam Zuid or South as opposed to Amsterdam Centraal. You may have noticed earlier too, but this service was a test train which anyone could board with a valid Intercity Brussels to Amsterdam ticket like I had, but only as far as Amsterdam Zuid, and this video was recorded 2 days before the official service launch at the 2024 European timetable change. Some services are still being operated by the Trax ICR formations until their replacement, the ICNG, is fully able to replace the remaining sets. Our train today is the new ICNG, which is being built by Alstom from their Coradia Stream platform in several series to operate both domestically within the Netherlands for Dutch operator NS, the 3100 and 3200 series, as well as internationally to Belgium and Germany under the 3300 series. Each 3300 series is formed of 8 carriages and wears the stunning new NS Flow livery, which really suits these trains. What do you think of it? The trains were ordered in 2016, with the aim of providing the same links as what the infamous Fyra service was to provide with the troubled V250s, which were withdrawn after a month in service and are now operating in Italy as ETR 700s. The ICNGs offer full level boarding, something their predecessors don't have, so that's already a huge plus point. For today's ride to Amsterdam, we'll be travelling in first class, which is laid out in a 2x1 configuration with a nice mixture of airline and table seats. You'll also find lounge seating too, which replaces the previous compartments on the ICR coaches. Bad for privacy, but very comfortable and spacious. I decided to go for the solo seat here, which has a brilliant window alignment. Our route will see us navigate through the Brussels suburbs and northern Belgium, with one stop at Antwerp, joining the high-speed line from there to cross the Dutch border towards Rotterdam and Schiphol Airport, before arriving into our final stop of Amsterdam Zuid at around 2:30 PM, taking just over 2 hours to cover the 205km distance. Not bad. The late arrival of the train means we depart Brussels 7 minutes late at 12:29, funnily enough just as another Eurostar red set pulls into work an Amsterdam service. Immediately after leaving Brussels, it's straight to the north-south connection, which sees approximately 1,200 trains a day, making it the busiest railway line in Belgium. After Bruxelles-Chapelle, we enter the tunnel forming an integral part of the link, being the busiest railway tunnel in the world. Partway through, we pass Brussels Central, a former stop of the InterCity Direct, which is now served by the replacement EuroCity service as opposed to the EuroCity Direct. This also applies to Brussels Nord, which we reach at the end of the north-south connection, hence the name. To reach our first stop of Antwerp, we traverse the lower speed conventional lines first, before we reach the high-speed line later on. Here, the maximum speed is 160 km per hour, which was the maximum speed that old Trax loco haul sets were able to achieve. Okay, now let's check out the features of the ICNG, starting with the seat. To be honest, the seat's quite comfortable for a new train, and definitely on par if not an improvement on the already comfy seats on the ICR coaches. The winged headrest is also good to see. Another detail I love is the NS tags sewn in the seats. NS themselves chose the design of the interior, so this was a nice touch. Each seat also has foldable armrests on both sides, and underneath you'll find a lever for operating the manual recline, and whilst this does take a bit of effort to operate, it's still very generous. This helps with the already generous legroom and seat pitch, though regular viewers will know that I'm not fond about the footrest just below, which can thankfully be stowed away. A reasonable sized tray table is available as well, which is perfect for getting work done on a laptop, and if you need to charge your device whilst doing so, there's a 220V power and USB-A socket on the window side. Each seat also has reading lights just above them, and speaking of lights, you may also notice that there's mood lighting here, but something I haven't seen on a high-speed train before is the unique way it's used. Purple, where we're in now, is the quiet zone, where talking and electronic device use must be kept to a minimum, whilst blue indicates a work zone and orange is the meet and greet zone. As for coat hooks, you'll find them in two areas, the first being just above the windows, whilst the other and more convenient location is behind the seat by pushing this button like so to extend it. For luggage storage, there's overhead space available for smaller items such as bags and larger racks throughout the train, with more being present on the 3300 series variant compared to the domestic ICNGs. Overall, I do really like the ICNG interior, and it's great to see consistencies between the domestic and international versions. Brilliant! Around half an hour of conventional line running later sees us enter the suburbs of Antwerp before heading underground to call it Antwerp Central. Sadly, the underground through station here is a lot more mundane than the gorgeous above ground terminal station, which I still have yet to visit. Have you been yet? Emerging from Antwerp and Centraal, we now enter the HSL 4, which links Antwerp with the Dutch border. As the name suggests, this is the latest high-speed line to have opened in Belgium, having opened in 2009 in conjunction with the Dutch HSL Zuid, which we'll be travelling on once we've crossed the border. Whilst the maximum speed is 300 km per hour as used by Eurostar trains, the ICNG is only capable of reaching 200 km per hour, which may be slower than the 250 km per hour previously done by the V250s, but is a significant improvement over the track's loco haul sets, which can only do 160 km per hour. Once we reach the end of the 36 km long line, we are now about to cross the border into the Netherlands and join the HSL Zuid, which we do around here. Welcome to the Netherlands. No need to worry about passport formalities, as the entire journey is in the European Schengen zone, where the borders just melt away. Unless you go to Germany, that is. As for Wi-Fi, this was available on the train and is free for anyone to use, though it wasn't working, and I thought at first this was due to being a test train, but I later saw social media posts saying this wasn't working when the units were in service. Hopefully this is resolved soon. Now, one thing I also noticed was that this particular set was covered in graffiti on the rear end, presumably from its continuous trips to Belgium. Whilst this is not an issue being a test train, I hope this has since been resolved following the official launch a few days later. First impressions count after all. Here's second class, which is in a 2x2 layout throughout with a nice mixture of airline and table seats. The only real difference with the seats is the blue colour and a slightly narrower frame, but otherwise is perfectly comfortable and suitable for the journeys these trains will be doing. Lounge seating is also present here too, to my surprise, which is again very comfortable and didn't disappoint. There are also standing areas in the vestibules by the doors in case the train gets too busy, though this is nothing compared to this train in the Czech Republic. There are also bins separated by plastics, food and general waste, which is a good thing to see. And of course, no Dutch train is complete without a dedicated space for soaring bikes. Wheelchair spaces can be found in standard class as shown here, which are very spacious and will have no issue accommodating those with reduced mobility. An accessible toilet is also located here, and owing to this being a test train, I'm pleased to say this was very clean and graffiti free. This was also the case for the standard toilets, which are found throughout the train. Despite how small it looks, I found it okay for space. Definitely better than an aircraft. There's also coat hooks too if you need to hang any coats or bags. We now join the branch of the HSL Zuid to Breda, where a track's loco haul set can be seen travelling to. The silver E186 locomotive at the end is one of the repainted locomotives which are being repurposed by their owner Akeem for freight work once NS sends them off lease, so their time's not up yet, especially considering most are only a mere 10 years old. The Hollands Diep River is then crossed as we continue to Rotterdam. Through the Scheldt-Rhine Canal, this river connects to both the Scheldt River and Antwerp, which we called that previously. We now pass the Stadion Feyenoord, the host of the UEFA Euro 2000 tournament, as we begin to clear the Rotterdam suburbs and arrive at Rotterdam Centraal, our first calling point in the Netherlands. This is the main station serving the country's second largest city, and it's worth noting that when travelling between here and our next stop Schiphol Airport, there's a supplement to pay which ranges from €1.74 to €2.90 depending on whether you're travelling during off-peak or peak hours. Tickets from Brussels to Amsterdam, however, already have the supplement included in the price. Surely it would make sense for NS to do the same domestically? Rotterdam is the starting point for the final section of the HSL Zuid, which ends at Schiphol Airport. When I last travelled on this line on the EuroCity Direct, the ICNG would only ever run at 200 km per hour if there were delays to maintain the tracks paths. However, this new service allows regular 200 km per hour running now going forward. I'm unsure that with more ICNGs now in service domestically, whether the 160 km per hour limit still applies. If you know, please say something below. The HSL Zuid ends just outside of Hoofddorp, which sees us then go underground to reach our final intermediate stop of Amsterdam Schiphol Airport. This is the Netherlands' principal airport with 72 million passengers pre-pandemic, making it one of the busiest in Europe, and is also the main hub for KLM, the Netherlands' flagship air carrier. From the airport, it's only a mere 5 minutes until our final destination. So what do I think? I do think this service will be a game changer for travel between Amsterdam and Brussels, especially as journey times are now comparable to Eurostar, who run a monopoly on high-speed services between the two capitals. The addition of this with the EuroCity to Rotterdam too adds increased capacity between Belgium and the Netherlands, which is exactly what international rail travel in Europe needs, though my main problem with this service is that it serves Amsterdam Zuid rather than Centraal, though this is only a 15 to 20 minute metro away from Centraal station. As mentioned at the start of the video, this was a test train boardable with any valid InterCity Direct ticket between Amsterdam and Brussels that day, and I was using a first class Interrail pass which fully covers both the InterCity Direct and the brand new EuroCity Direct without any additional reservation costs, as is the case with Eurostar. The cheapest fares I can see a few weeks in advance are €18 for second class and €48 for first class, and in all honesty you're better off going for second class, as there's no real benefit to first minus the extra space. I would definitely like to see onboard catering for the first class price difference. Anyway, the train arrives into Amsterdam Zuid 12 minutes late due to the late start we had in Brussels earlier. Now you've heard from me, I want to hear from you. Have you tried the new EuroCity Direct yet? What do you think of it? Let me know in the comments. I hope you've enjoyed this video, and don't forget to like and share it if you did to aid the channel's growth, as well as subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications for more content such as this weekly. NS is completely redeveloping Amsterdam Zuid to be one of the main hubs for international travel in the Dutch capital, as can be seen here, being located in the Zuidas business district. I'll leave you with a shot of our train departing as it continues its testing to Lelystad. Thanks so much for coming with me on this trip, and I look forward to bringing you with me on my next one.